Fight fans worldwide, whoever you are and wherever you are, thank you for watching. My name is HB, alongside my brother in boxing, Breezy, and this is The Hard-Hitting Truth. This is a podcast by boxers to give you an unfiltered, unbiased look at the sweet science that we love so much. Joining us on the show tonight, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. Adonis, a young sports broadcaster in the making. And welcome back, BA. It's good to have you back. How you doing out there?
Doing good.
All right.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to talk about what happened this weekend. Canelo becoming the first undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. But let me go ahead and get the regular announcements out of the way. Before we go any further, subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at THHT.BOXING. Also, while you're here, give us a like, give us some feedback in the comments. More importantly, share this content. Tell your friends to tell their friends about the hard-hitting truth. Breezy, my brother, the opening bell,
sir.
Please.
Ding, ding.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't see the fight live, you definitely missed out. Adonis. Ladies and gentlemen, Adonis is back. He's our undefeated champion here at the Hard-Hitting Truth. There's a reason why we have this man on the show. You know, he's got a brain for sports like Johnny Mnemonic. He's our own personal Google when it comes to stats and he knows this stuff. And he had Canelo. He called it on the episode before last. He called it. He said Canelo by stoppage rounds 8 through 12. 8 through 11. He was right on the money. Canelo got the stoppage at the beginning of round 11. Leaped in, caught Caleb Plant with a nice left hook right on the jaw, similar to the way Joe Frazier used to throw those left hooks. Beautiful. Thing of beauty. Followed up with a nice short right uppercut as Caleb was as he was pinned up against the ropes, and then another left hand, and good night, Irene. That's about all she wrote. Great fight. If you didn't see the fight, you missed one hell of a spectacle. What about Anthony Durrell?
Oh.
Man, when we tell you guys to tune into these fights, we're not playing. This was a great card, tons of entertainment. The main event had an excellent knockout to seal the deal. Everybody loves that. The co-main event had almost, I would almost say, an even bigger highlight reel knockout, but it wasn't for the Undisputed Championship, so I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. But without the context of what the knockout meant for each fighter, you might say that Anthony Durrell had the better knockout. Wind up, counter right uppercut right off of the step back. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Shout out to Anthony Durrell, representing Flint, Michigan. Huge statement, and it's important to do those things when you're fighting on a card where the main event
on a big stage
is represented the same weight class that you're in. So shout out to Anthony Durrell. Probably looking at a big fight being lined up in the future. That was one heck of a statement, one heck of a knockout. Canelo, he's the pound for pound king, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Breezy, I said it. I know you're president of the Bud Crawford fan club. Canelo just went out there this past weekend and proved why he is the pound for pound king.
No question.
That many people, including me, say that he is. Caleb Plant. I told you guys you can't find a better underdog than Caleb Plant. He went out there and showed you exactly why. I was wrong in picking him, but I was not wrong when I told you guys how great of a fight this would be.
Oh yeah.
Breezy. We talked about the ways to win, and we had a lot of good input that turned out to be true. What did you see that rang true in terms of the ways to win that you laid out for each fighter?
Well, I'm gonna start with Canelo because he won. He basically did everything that I said he should do. He worked his way to get to the inside. He had great head movement. He used his jab not really to score, but he was just trying to set up those power shots. Because I'm not saying he was just looking for the knockout. It was overall a well-rounded performance. Went to the body, but he more importantly he kept that pressure on him, not with just punches, but he marched forward. And I said the closer he can get, the closer the fighter fought, the more it favors Canelo. The further it's fought, the more it favors Plant. And there were moments where Plant did, keep it outside, but Canelo, he figured his way, to get closer more often than not, when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And he landed those power shots, went to the body. He executed it better. But now Plant, I said he needs to use a jab. He needs to outwork him. He needs to stay moving. And he did that a lot, and then he didn't do it. As the fight, I gave him the early edge in the fight. And
Right.
then toward the middle rounds, Canelo he turned the tide. You know what I mean? And there was moments where Plant would just kind of freeze. He did it early in the fight, but at first it was effective. But he kept kind of getting stuck in this position and that leaning back from the Philly shell. And Canelo made the adjustment. All he had to do was kind of step a little bit to the left, and now his whole side is in range. And he did that. But Plant, he was effective, but when he did that too often, Canelo made that adjustment, and he just
He's
kept
kinda
getting
waiting.
caught in that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he wasn't still, he did very well in the fight. And then when he would stop moving is when Canelo would really do damage. Not that Canelo didn't do any damage outside of Plant being sharp, but when Plant would make those mistakes, a few mistakes, Canelo will really take advantage of it, and he got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me open up the floor for our undefeated champion, Adonis. You called it. You said stoppage by Canelo, rounds 8 through 11 to become undisputed champion of the world, and he did it in the 11th. Tell us why you came up with that pick, and tell us what you saw on fight night from Canelo to make it happen.
So going into this fight, I knew this was going to be a war of attrition. And we've seen over time that unless you have great foot speed, great cutting angles to get back to the center of the ring, Canelo's going to break you down along the ropes. A lot of people like to say he's not the best ring cutter, but as long as he's not getting guys back to the center of the ring and keeping them chasing along the ropes the entire time, he's wearing guys out in every single fight. And I think that's what you saw coming here. So that's why I picked the late stoppage. Caleb Plant had a lot of good tactics he went to. Canelo just had a lot of good answers. You could see along the ropes early in the fight when Caleb would try to, get close, hug him up so he could stop that damage coming. Canelo had a really nice frame on the head that he would use to kind of keep Caleb at distance so he couldn't lock up like that. And he was cooking his body the entire time, man. And especially, I think the head movement was a big part of what Canelo did right in this fight. Because you could see Caleb Plant was out there landing decent jabs, but never anything super powerful, And after so much time, and when you really start to get tired, you could see Caleb was starting to think, should I throw more jabs, or is it not going to be worth much? Am I going to tire myself out? And that's when you saw Canelo really start closing the distance along the ropes, and which eventually led to that left hook. So, because I think Caleb Plant had a lot of good answers for a lot of good guys on that night, but with somebody with the experience of Canelo, like I said in the last episode I was in, he just has too many different ways he can get inside, and I think you saw that on Saturday night.
Yes, sir.
We sure did. Yeah. The head movement is what actually set up the knockout punch. He weaved right inside and then leapt forward with that left hook, and that was the end of the chapter for the most part. BA, welcome back to the show, my brother. How are you?
Sir.
How are you out there in sunny Arizona?
Man, you know what? The weather's been nice out here. I've been good, man. I'm happy as ever right now. We got some good boxing, some Saturday, and then we got some good boxing on the horizon. So I'm happy as a
Lots
kid,
of them.
man. Man.
So welcome back to the show. You know, it's been a while. We haven't seen you since we did the preview episode for Tyson Fury,
Fury and Wilder.
Deontay Wilder Part 3. You know, I told everybody out there that you were in bereavement because you were with Wilder that night. So welcome back from bereavement. Glad to have you
Yes, sir.
back. What did you see in the fight that stood out to you that you found the most interesting or entertaining?
I honestly I wasn't surprised by anything, and I wouldn't have been surprised if Caleb Plant, won a decision. But if I had to put my money on it, I picked Canelo to win, by a stoppage. I mean, I didn't pick a round or anything like that. I just thought he had too much experience. And I feel the same way about anybody in that division or pretty much anybody in boxing. He just has too much experience over guys that are boxing right now. He came up the right way. He got a lot of experience early. I mean, he fought Mayweather at what, 22? Well, how old was he? He's somewhere in his
23,
20s, early
somewhere
20s.
around that. Yeah, early
23. He fought
20s.
Floyd Mayweather, the best in the game. You know what I mean? But it pretty much played like I thought it would. I had Caleb Plant winning a lot of the early rounds, but Canelo was just kind of collecting data, using his experience, taking his time, keeping his composure. He knew eventually he's going to land shots. He knew eventually he's going to break him down to the body, and all that movement is going to slow down. Are you going to be able to stick with the game plan? Have you been at this moment before? Have you been on this stage? Have you fought under this pressure, under these lights? It gets to you, man. You know what I mean? That experience means a lot. So I did pick Canelo with the late stoppage, but shout out to Caleb Plant though, because this is the one thing I wanted to say, man. He could have sat on that belt. That was the last piece Canelo needed to unify. And he could have sat on that belt. He could have played. He could have fought guys he know he could beat, get more experience, but he dared to be great. He got in there with the best fighter in the world right now, put his belt on the line, put his reputation on the line with 21 fights, 22 fights, something like that. And he took a chance to be great. So shout out to him. And we got to support fighters like that. But as far as the fight, he did well. He was doing a lot of the things I thought he should do early. He was using his lateral movement. He was sticking the jab out. But before the fight, I always said, if he doesn't get Canelo's respect with some kind of power and let Canelo know that, hey, man, you're going to feel me when you try to come in, it's going to be an early stoppage. I thought it would be earlier if he wasn't able to give Canelo something that he would respect. But you could see later as the rounds went on, Canelo was not worried about his power at all, and it was only a matter of time. And I was shouting out, screaming at the TV. I'm like, dude, that is going to be your demise if you don't get off those ropes. You better get away from the ropes, bro. But he just seemed like he was way too comfortable on the ropes. I'm like, man, you better keep trying to grab him and have a plan for something later on in the fight because you're going to be hurt there. In the middle of the ring, you're safe. You can use your head movement. You can catch punches and all that. But you on the ropes, you got nowhere to go. And this dude is throwing haymakers and he has precision. It was only a matter of time as it got later, and Canelo he started wearing him down, man. You could see Caleb Plant, he was on tired legs, man. So it went how I expected it to go, but I was pulling for Caleb. I really wanted him to win or at least show that Canelo definitely has chinks in his armor. He can be defeated. That's what I was hoping for, but I did think Canelo would win.
You know, truthfully, I think Caleb Plant did represent himself very well. You know, that's one of the
He
reasons
did.
why I made the pick prior to the fight, just because I think too many people counted him out, and I didn't want to be another person on that list. And I think, he made me proud. He went out there and he showed the world why he deserved to be in the ring with Canelo that night for that big fight.
You got to
And
give him props.
you said that you would have had Canelo stopping Plant earlier. Canelo even said that he said at the opening press
He said
conference, I'm
8. I
knocking
think
this
he
guy
said
out
what?
in less than 8 rounds. So
Yeah.
even Canelo himself was off. And obviously nobody knows what they can do or I'm sorry, what Canelo can do better than Canelo. So even Canelo was off. Caleb Plant made it through 10 full rounds with, arguably Breezy,
Yeah.
the best pound for pound boxer in the world. Let's talk a little more strategy, Breezy. I got a question for you. There's been a lot of talk since the fight that one of the main problems with Caleb Plant is that he's lacking in the power punching department. Should a guy who is lacking in the power punching department use the Philly shell? You got to think about it. Usually fighters who use the Philly shell in order to be, in order to kind of get out of the way, with that torso reflex, they got to set their legs a little wider normally to make it work better and make it work a little smoother. And usually power punches are the ones that have the wider stances. So it brings up a great question that I kind of thought of since the fight has concluded. Is the Philly shell good for Caleb Plant? If you don't have that pop, should you use that style? Because really, it's a game of the Philly shell is really a game of make them miss and make them pay. But without power punching, you don't have as much of an ability to make them pay. Caleb did a really good job of making Canelo miss with a lot of the shots that he was throwing, and that's probably why Canelo didn't get him out of there until after he had predicted he would.
Right.
What do you think, Breezy? I mean, I know it's kind of a loaded question and I'm catching you off guard, but let me know what you think.
It's a good question.
Really good question. I'm thinking about it like while you talk. The more you think, the more you talk, I'm like, okay, I need this time. But he did get caught in the Philly shit. I think he did a very good job defensively, but he just at times he would stop moving, and that's when he's most like that. But
and truthfully, that's kind of the thing about having a wide leg stance that hurts you is it does make you a little less mobile. Another thing that I thought hurt Caleb particularly on that night is the fact that when you use a wider stance, you sacrifice some of your height, and that played into Canelo's hands also. So let's take away the shorter opponent and let's just talk about having the lack of pop. Do you think that it's advisable for, especially because, if we have young fighters that are listening out there, a lot of times boxing is all about finding out who you are in the ropes and, what style works for you. And that's why I always tell people to try different things out when they're learning, because a lot of times people get caught in trying to perfect things a certain way. And the way that you're taught may not be the way that works for you. So I always encourage people to practice what they've been taught, but also experiment on the side. So it's a good question. If you don't have that pop on your punches, what do you think, champ? You think you should adopt the Philly shell?
That's a really good question, and it kind of makes me think about Mayweather, because he would use it sometimes, and he was very effective. Not everybody's Mayweather though. Like he shows that it can be effective. I'm not saying he doesn't have any pop. He's not severely lacking in power, but he's not. At least Money May is not known for his power. Nobody's really
at welterweight.
Shot. Maybe he has a little too much power to be the perfect reference, but I still think it could be done. But it's a tall order. It's not easy to do. It's easier said than done. You got to have exquisite stamina first of all. You know what I mean? Because you're going to be absorbing. Even if you catch it, you're catching shots. It still wears you down. You're feeling that.
Still have an effect on you.
It still matters. So you got to be strong to do it for sure. But but you also got to be. You can't just pose. You know what I mean? You got to really be reactive and be sharp with it.
Like Broner.
If you just pose and you're doing the same way, just like happened to Plant, Canelo made that little step a little to the side. Now he could reach that kidney. He could reach, land the left hook to the head. And so that's kind of an argument against me saying, yeah, it could be done, but it could be done. It's just it's very difficult to do it without power.
Yeah. Something I was thinking about over the weekend. Oh, well, since I criticized Caleb, I in a roundabout way, I guess you can consider that criticizing Caleb indirectly. Let me go ahead and talk a little bit about Canelo. One of the things that I saw in Canelo's performance that made me kind of step back on one of the things that I had said previously about Caleb not getting in Canelo's head. And I had to go back and say, you know what? I guess Caleb did get in Canelo's head. Was the stiff arm. Did you guys notice that?
Mm-hmm.
He was stiff arming him from round one with his lean hand. From round one. And the ref would break him up every time, because you can't do that. But
Yeah, he was.
he would break him up every time, but Canelo made it a point to keep doing that. I don't know if he did it just to show Caleb Plant that I'm stronger than you via this tricep extension right in your neck. But he kept doing it, and I think that that's one of the things that kind of slowed down his pace in terms of scoring the knockout. One of the things Breezy laid out in the ways to win for Canelo was being able to jab with the jabber. And in the instances where he was using that stiff arm, he was taking that ability away from himself. And one of the shots that I saw scoring from him from the onset was his left hook and not his right hand. Caleb actually did a decent job of taking away his right hand by rocking backwards in the Philly shell style. I'm sorry, in the Philly shell position. So he did a great job of taking away his right hand for a lot of the fight. But Canelo was landing that left hook not as consistently as he would have wanted to, but he was getting pieces of it in ever since the beginning round. But when he did that stiff arm, he took away his jab and he took away his own left hook. So I thought that was a tactical error that Canelo made. And if he may not have done that, Adonis, maybe he would have been wrong, and maybe Canelo would have got him out of there in 6. And Canelo would have been right in his initial assessment at the opening weigh-in. What do you think, Adonis?
I think the stiff arm, especially because he used it a lot more early, and you started seeing he kind of let it go a little bit more as the fight got later on. I think he really just didn't want Caleb Plant to feel like he could just clinch him on the ropes. And I think he was using that stiff arm just to be like, hey, you're not going to get like overhooks and then like underhooks with me, and we're just going to play this game where you hug me on the ropes. I'm going to make sure I keep my distance and keep you from turning me off the ropes so you can get back to the center. Because you could see every time that they would split him up, Caleb would still have his back to the ropes and not towards the center because he couldn't turn Canelo away from the ropes. You know what I mean? So I think that stiff arm kind of helped him consistently keep Caleb Plant just on the ropes because, as I think BA was saying earlier, at distance in the middle, Caleb Plant did a lot of good work early. Like when he was able to get off the ropes, he was able to move his head, do good work out there. But I think, especially like you were saying with the Philly shell, I think Caleb Plant's success with that in other fights has come because he hasn't had to use it for 11 rounds straight. You know what I mean? I think he's been able to use it in certain points when he's got on the ropes and then get back to the center. I think Canelo's big emphasis in this fight was making sure he kept him on the ropes for all 11 rounds and made sure that he felt like he could never get back to the center. And I think that's what that stiff arm was used for.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well. One of the things that we did lay out in the ways to win was a good body attack for Canelo would slow Plant down and secure the victory that he was looking for. And that's exactly what it did. Plant may have taken away the right hand over the top for, most of the night. He didn't really get clipped with a lot of big right hands until the end. But he did not take away the right hand to the body whatsoever. We did say that it would be important for him to keep that right elbow pin to take away the liver shot, and Caleb Plant did a pretty good job of that. But man, oh man, Canelo was landing big right hands to the body from the opening bell, and you could see the entire left side of Caleb's rib cage was red. And I remember that's exactly how Amir Khan's side looked right before Canelo came over the top with that big right hand. You can see it. You can see a big red blotch on Amir Khan's side, and you can see it on Caleb Plant's side. And it worked. BA, tell us what you thought of the body attack.
No, we know. Like, come on, Canelo is a devastating body puncher. We know that.
Since we know, let me ask you a more pointed question. Do you think there is anybody out there that has a better body attack than Canelo Alvarez?
Better body attack? The best body punchers to me is Canelo. I got to put Errol Spence in there. Underrated body, a person that goes to the body is Tank. Tank is real good going to the body as well, man. Those are probably three of my top. You know what I mean? But Canelo, he's just so strong, and then he'll feint you and then dig to your guts, man. But Earl Spence too, man. He just relentless with the body attack. But Tank also, man. Those are three great body punches right there. I don't know if that answers your question. What you were looking for,
I
but
think there's like a
I do.
name missing.
Who
I
who
think
else?
Good. No, it's a
expecting to
good
hear a
answer.
third name. I didn't hear it. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just
He's
You looking
looking
for
for
somebody
Bud
else?
Crawford. You know he's looking
uh-huh.
for Bud.
Bud,
LTC.
I don't think Bud is on the same level with Spence, Tank, or Canelo though with the body. But he is a good body puncher. He is. He's a
I
good
like
body
his
puncher.
body attack. He's consistent.
But what I was saying
BA,
was,
BA, can I stop you real quick? I just want to point one thing out for you. If you didn't notice it, I did. I looked at the screen. Breezy is looking for the button to kick you off the show. He just can't find it.
yeah,
He's like, let me mute this
Looking for the
mic and
button.
yeah. I mess with Bud though. No, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's just my TV or I wasn't seeing the shots, but I thought Caleb Plant did a good job of catching a lot of those shots to the body and even to the face. Like he was catching a lot of those shots. I just don't think Canelo was landing a lot of clean, effective punches. But let me say this. Maybe it wasn't scoring. Like I wasn't scoring a lot of it, but what it is doing is breaking you down. So if he's looking for a knockout, it really doesn't matter because he knows, and I think he's savvy enough, he's experienced enough to know, hey man, maybe I'm not winning on the card, but eventually it's gonna catch up with you. It's gonna slow you down. I'm gonna break you down and get the stoppage. You know what I mean? But I thought Caleb Plant did a good job of catching a lot of those shots, but he's still absorbing a lot of impact. You know what I mean? But as far as that Philly shell, I think he should use it. I thought he did a good job of rolling with a lot of those shots and coming back. But like you said, the power maybe was lacking. But you could see a lot of times when he took a page out of Mayweather's book, rolling with that shot and then shooting that straight right hand. And you can see Canelo would be surprised, like, oh damn, I didn't know you had that in your bag. He did that a few times to Canelo.
Mhm.
And then he did a good job of keeping that hand up and stopping that hook from Canelo. So I did like him in the Philly shell. But the difference between Mayweather is not a power puncher, but Mayweather has sharp punches. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna think you're not
Mhm.
just gonna walk in. He's gonna give you something to think about. He's not a power puncher, but his shots are sharp. And I don't know if y'all you know what I mean, but you can just see the difference
No,
when Mayweather tags you.
I
His
know
shit
what
is
you mean.
sharp. It's not the same thing with
Basically,
Plant.
yeah,
I
I
don't
know
get
what
the
you
same
mean. You know,
effect.
like when Mayweather would catch and counter, he would land shots that would snap somebody's head back, stop them
Man,
right in their tracks, kill all their
Mhm.
momentum.
it's not gonna knock you out, but
Easy
you definitely
shot
gonna be like, okay, I
to
can't take too
score.
many of those.
Right.
Man, it's
Yeah,
apparent to the judges for sure.
yeah. And although Mayweather, you know, it's been said that he, didn't have a lot of power at welterweight. You can kind of tell that he definitely had some power.
Bro, he a sharp
Um,
puncher for
I
sure.
think it was more so the thing with Mayweather was the fact that he had broken his hands so many
Right.
times in his
We
fights
know
that
that. We
he
know that.
just decided he wasn't going to do that anymore. So
He not really
he
sitting
went to
down
the
throwing
game of
combinations. Yeah.
yeah, he went to the game of pot shotting because of that.
Yeah.
I
Right.
would think anyway.
Right.
But since you brought up Tank, BA, I'm going to keep the energy right there and bring him up as well because after Canelo's victory, Tank tweeted and said that Canelo is Tank at 168 pounds.
Oh yeah, I see that.
I'm gonna go right around the board
Mhm.
and ask you guys: is that an overreach, or is that right on the money? Breezy, what do you think?
I think it's close to right on the money. Like they got a lot of similarities.
For
They're going to
sure.
be shorter than most of the people that they face.
Right.
They're going to be more powerful than most of the people that they face, but they got a lot of speed and know how to get to
Head
the
movement.
inside and land those power shots. Head movement, slickness, responsible defense, everything. There's a lot of similarities there
Yeah,
For sure.
Adonis, what do you
for
think?
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an unfair comparison. It's nothing's going to be 1-to-1 in this sport just because
Right.
we have very different
That's definitely
styles, very different fighters here. But yeah, as far as like especially the power punching, the underrated, not even underrated anymore, but the chins and being able to walk through those shots to get on the inside and land their body work and then finally land the knockout blow. Yeah, I don't think that's a an unfair read by Tank at all. And of course, I mean, if you're Tank Davis, you want to be comparing yourself to the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, because and especially and have people comparing him to you because it puts a little bit of shine on you. And I don't think that's an unfair comparison at all. No.
No, and that's a good way to, you got to go with the trending things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I saw his tweet because it definitely trended because Canelo was trending all weekend, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
BA, same question. Did you think? Do you think that that's an overreach by Tank, or do you think that he's right on the money and that's
I
a
never
good
thought
assessment?
about that, but yeah, he definitely right on the money. Because just like Canelo, if you don't make him respect you, he's gonna hunt you down, and he's gonna hurt you, and he's gonna stop you. Same thing with Tank. Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz was landing on Tank. We all saw that, but it just wasn't doing nothing. You know what I mean? Eventually, what
Yeah.
he do? He hunted him down and knocked him out. You know what I mean? So they definitely, and they both, I said it, man. They both two of the best. I ain't gonna say two of the best. They are great body punchers, but they probably top five when going to your guts. And they, mixing up just the variety of punches. You know what I mean? They both
Yeah.
have great head movement, and they do great on the inside. Tank is a little better on the inside, if you ask me, than Canelo. But I can definitely see the comparison for sure. That was good. Yeah, I didn't see that, but I
Truthfully,
agree.
also, at the lower weight classes, 135, or Tank's between 130, 135, and 140. Those lower weight classes, they mix it up a little bit more, so Tank probably goes to the body more just because the punch count is higher down at those weight classes usually.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and push back just because I want to nitpick.
that was advocate.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that he's almost right on the money, but Tank's a southpaw, so.
Okay.
No, I'm just playing. I've been saying that for a while. That Tank and Canelo are like the same people. They're just on opposite ends of the spectrum. Tank's a lefty, Canelo's a righty. Canelo's in the larger weight classes. Tank isn't. But fighting style, they're both boxer punchers who have great boxing ability, and they're going for that knockout. And Mike Tyson is ecstatic about both fighters because I think they have similar styles to each other, and you could make an argument that it's similar to the way Mike used to conduct business. So,
for sure.
That's why Mike is always shouting them out and at their fights. And Tank is fighting Isaac Cruz December 5th. So if you're listening out there, keep your eyes out. I'm sorry, keep your eyes open. Be alert. It's coming soon.
Who,
Tank
by the way, I got to mention, Isaac Cruz is also called Mexican Mike Tyson.
Oh, really?
There you go.
So what
sounds
happened?
like it'll be a great fight.
What happened to Rolly, bro? Like I never got the full story.
Let's not get off subject.
Yeah, that's gonna take a whole episode, man.
Yeah. Let's not get off subject. I'm doing our listeners.
You want to get some shallow details.
Let's not get off subject.
And move on.
Bro, man, I wanted to see that, man. We move on.
Tank versus Isaac Cruz, who Breezy said is also known as the Mexican Mike Tyson. That's going down December 5th. Keep your eyes peeled. Mark it on your calendars, because I'm sure I'm sure Tank is going to go for his late submission for knockout of the year. Moving right along, I guess it's time to ask the final question that Jim Gray usually asks people in the ring, and that's what's next. We'll start off with the challenger, Caleb Plant. First and foremost, let's go ahead and say it again. Caleb Plant deserves a round of applause. He doesn't deserve the boos that he got leaving the arena. I can understand why he got them, because he kind of played the heel in the build up to this fight. And, when you do that against the guy that has the most fans in the audience, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. But that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is because we really want to put that energy out there that, fans at the end of the day should not be booing this guy. He gave it everything he had in training camp, and on fight night. You could tell that this man was well prepared. You could tell that this man was conditioned to go the distance, do what it takes to put on a bring on a great performance. Um, and he went out on the shield. What more can you ask for in terms of
Man,
a performance from an individual fighter? Um, so respect to Caleb Plant. I think this is a guy who definitely has the ability to become champion again. I think he
for
has the
sure.
drive. It's something that I definitely admire in him.
He's got the confidence.
And he's got the confidence. So I think he could definitely become champion again. How does he do it? And I'll turn it over to Breezy first. My brother, what do you think is next for Caleb? And how does he get back back on the road to become champion again?
Well, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't think it's a long road, and uh, there's two names that are, I guess, leading the pack when it comes to the Canelo sweepstakes at this point. That's David Benavidez and Jamal Charlo. And if I'm Caleb Plant, I'm gonna fight whichever one Canelo doesn't, and I give him a good. I probably got him beating maybe both of them. To be honest
Mm,
with
mm.
you,
Ooh,
those are
Okay,
all
okay.
good fights. All four, with those four
I
guys,
like that.
any of the matchups, they're good fights. Canelo. This is not an official prediction. This is me just kind of just summing up the picture. Canelo
No,
probably
I
beats them
got you.
all, but Benavidez to me is the most dangerous out of those names to Canelo. So if I'm Plant, I'm hoping Canelo goes for Benavidez, and I'm gonna go take Charlo. But if he takes
Woo.
Charlo, I'm gonna go Benavidez because I don't like some people might say he just suffered a knockout loss, get a tune up, get back in there. I don't think he needs it. You know what I'm saying? He's learned a lot in this fight. It wasn't so brutal where he's gonna be different after this fight. You know what I'm saying? He got finished, but he wasn't exactly out. You know what I'm saying? So I say get right back in there, fight those names that are already in the mix, and people won't forget about you. You fight somebody we never heard of, yeah, you'll look good probably, but it's somebody we never heard of. He. I don't think in this episode I expressed how the high level that Caleb Plant did perform on, even though he lost.
Right.
Credit to Canelo, like HB said, you know, Plan is all the way up there, so
He is.
I'm going right for the next best guy that Canelo doesn't take. And
Mm,
I expect Jamal Charlo to be moving up there anyway, to 168. He's at 160 now, but he's the guy that, I mean, Canelo did name drop him and Benavidez. So I'm taking whoever
mm.
Canelo doesn't take if I'm Plant. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. BA, same question. What does Caleb Plant do next, and how does he get back on the road to become a champion?
Man, I never even thought about matching up Charlo with Caleb Plant. Man, what a fight that would be. That'd be a damn good fight. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like you said, Breezy, he got knocked out, but it wasn't one of those knockouts where it's like, man, I hope he comes back the same. Like, where's his confidence level gonna be at? So I think he'll be fine. I don't know if he should jump right into one of those fights. Maybe he should take a lighter touch just to get back in the ring. Man, that's probably what I would do. You know what I mean? But I think he'd be fine. He does have confidence. He believes in himself. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
one of his greatest assets for sure. But he's still in the mix at 168. I mean, a lot of it just depends on like what is Canelo gonna do. If he's is he gonna keep all of those belts and defend them against Benavidez? You know what I mean? And Charlo, or is he gonna move? We never know with Canelo. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm Caleb Plant, man, he's right on that level. He's still at the top of the division. He's in there with all of those guys. You know what I mean? He'll be champ again for sure. I don't know if he can make 160, and meet Charlo down there, or if he's just gonna stay at 68. He has options, most likely, but he's right in the mix, bro. You know what I mean? And like you said, he's at a high level. You win 11 rounds with Canelo Alvarez. One more round, you know what I mean? It would have went to the decision. who knows what would have happened. You know what I mean? The fight was close on a lot of people's cards. So you're right in the mix, man. Don't lose confidence. Hats off to you. You fought well, and come back even stronger. Learn from this.
I think he will.
Adonis.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he will.
My bad. Adonis, what do you think, sir? What does Caleb plan to do next?
Yeah, he's in an interesting position because I think Canelo said he's not looking to fight till May, or he's not even thinking about fighting until at least May. So he's got some time to maybe get in with David Benavidez, because right now, even Benavidez and Charlo, they're not sure shots for Canelo to fight next. Neither one of them. Canelo could decide he wants to go up and do another thing. So I think you can ever... Exactly. So
Yeah.
if he can get out there and make himself undeniable in a certain way, because Benavidez is going to be looking to make himself undeniable, and Charlo's going to be looking to make himself undeniable. So he can hop in with one of those two if he's looking for a quick turnaround. If he's looking for, a tune-up or just a fight that's not going to be as, grueling going back into it, there's guys at 168 he can go fight.
Still good fights.
Yeah, I don't know what Billy Joe Saunders is doing right now. But, Darrell, another guy who you can get in there with. So there's good fights for him to take if he's not looking to get right back up to that top level just now. But honestly, man, now that he's got this experience under his belt, his name's kind of big right now. I think it might be good for him to go after those bigger fights that get him in those championship opportunities, because those guys are going to be looking to fight him too. So if he wants to take advantage of that, he can.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. He's definitely going to look to fight him right now, coming off a knockout loss.
And to be honest, if I'm Charlo or Benavidez and Canelo doesn't fight me next, beating Plant would almost make you a lock-in for the next opportunity at him. You know, that's
especially if you close the show against Plant.
That's what I'm about to say. Especially you stop, you do better than Canelo.
It's going to get people to talking, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, this is going to make money," and then it'll happen.
Yeah. Honestly, I agree with you, Breezy. I think that, this is a lot, with Caleb's level of confidence and the fact that he essentially got knocked out off of one big shot upstairs. He took some good shots upstairs. He took a lot of good shots downstairs, but he took some good shots upstairs. But when it came down to the end, it all started with that left hook, and then, Canelo dumped on maybe, 4, 5, or 6 more shots to the head to seal the deal. He didn't take a lot of damage that's going to have him out for a duration of time. So he could hop back in there, maybe even before Canelo does, because Canelo was saying at the post-fight press conference that he'll probably look to return in May, since he fought so much this year.
He did.
Or at least in the last 12 months. He fought 4 times in the last 12 months. So he'd probably look to rest and return for Cinco de Mayo weekend. So Caleb Plant could, turn around and secure a fight against a good contender in, April or so to stamp his name in the super middleweight division again following the loss. If he does so, BA stole the thunder, took the wind right out of my sail. Anthony Durrell. Great knockout victory.
Man, that's a good one. Really.
So you're looking at a guy with power. You're looking at a guy with a lot of experience, a seasoned veteran, great fighter. And I think it would be a great fight and an interesting matchup.
It would.
I don't want to take any more wind out of the sail. But I got to mention,
go ahead.
I did read that Darrell
let's see if you. I was about to say something. So let me see if you do take the wind out of my sail. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I want to see if you call it.
Okay. Yeah, Darrell said if he doesn't get Canelo next, he's considering retiring. I don't quite want to see that, but
I don't either, especially after that performance. I can't wait to see Anthony Darrell fight again.
Yeah.
So you didn't take the wind out of my sail, champ. I was going to say either Anthony Darrell. I don't know if Billy Joe Saunders is available. That'd be a great fight. It'd be very interesting.
That's a good one too. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but I don't think that would prepare him for what's to come in his career? I
Yeah.
would say
Good point.
David Lemieux. David Lemieux,
Where has he been?
he's still on the scene, and he packs power
Dangerous.
punches. He can throw them. So because that's one of the hurdles that Caleb Plant didn't get over in this fight. It'd be nice to see him bounce back by taking on a fighter who's known for his power punching ability and doesn't
Bro, he
have
gonna
as
school.
much
He gonna
boxing
school
ability
Lemieux.
as Canelo.
You gonna take him to school.
To put this loss kind of this knockout loss in his rearview mirror a little bit further than fighting anybody else, like Billy Joe Saunders, for example. Billy Joe Saunders has more parallels to Caleb Plant than he does to Canelo. So I think that it'd be an interesting matchup, but I don't know that it would serve Caleb Plant well. So lots of options out there for him. One thing is for sure, with his talent, you can expect to see him, back in the chase for a championship. With 4 belts out there, there's going to be a lot of challenges for Canelo if he stays at super middleweight. Which brings me to the next question: what should Canelo do next? And the question is, does he stay at super middleweight and continue his reign as undisputed super middleweight champion, or he's already won 1 belt at the light heavyweight division? Does he go back up there for another conquest? And I'll turn it over to BA first. What do you think, sir?
How many weight classes has Canelo been in? What? I know he got 54.
Started at welterweight.
60.
I don't believe he ever
Yeah, he never
secured
got
a
a belt
championship.
I don't think he ever
40.
fought at welterweight, did he? Did he actually officially fight
Yeah,
at
yeah.
welterweight?
Absolutely, yeah.
But he
absolutely.
never got a belt.
In the early years.
54, 60, 68, 75.
Correct. So 5, and he's
He
won
ain't got 5
championships.
divisions, bro.
No, but he never got a belt at 47.
He never got a belt
Right.
at
He never got
welterweight.
a belt.
Okay. So maybe that's why I'm confused. But man, at this point, Canelo could do whatever the hell he want to do. That's how I feel. Like, do whatever you want to do, bro. Like, honestly, you've already proven that you the best. Ain't nobody messing with you. In my opinion, I don't think these guys can beat him, man. They just don't have the experience. Like, prop to these guys, like Caleb Plant, taking the chance, daring to be great. You haven't fought at this level. Like Canelo said in the press conference, you're not at this level, man. Same thing Mayweather would tell guys, man, you're just not at this level. I'm sorry. You got to take baby steps, man. You got to crawl before you walk. But there are those exceptional fighters that get on that level for the first time and prove that Teofimo, he beat Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? So you can't completely count guys out.
Another
But
young champion.
it's just Canelo, man. I just think he got too much experience. He got too many wrinkles in his game. I don't really see nobody that can beat him, man. Maybe if he go up to 75, he'll put himself a little bit more at risk, fighting those guys up there. But 68, 60, I don't see it. Or meeting some of these smaller guys like Spence or Crawford, meeting them at a catch weight. Man, it's going to be bad for them dudes, man. Don't do that. Don't do it.
BA out here issuing a stern warning. Man, I shouldn't have turned it over to you first, because you pretty much came up with the best answer, I think, and that is Canelo can do whatever.
Canelo can do whatever he want to do, man. That's how I feel.
Let's see what Johnny Mnemonic has for us. Adonis, what do you think? What do you think Canelo's next best move is?
Man, I've had something on my mind for about the last week, and especially after this weekend. What could Canelo do to cement himself above like Chavez Sr. as like the best Mexican fighter to ever live? And I think a lot of people make the case that he already has. But I think, there's a lot of old heads out there that, they were there during the days of Chavez Sr., man, and they're not going to give it up. I think if Canelo went up one more time and unified those belts, it'd be over. It'd be over, man. And I think if we want to see him reach for the top of his greatness, what he can do, because Kovalev, it's a good win, but we can all kind of admit Kovalev wasn't exactly the Kovalev that fought Ward the first time. You know what I mean? But Beterbiev and Bivol, man, those guys, they're in the primes of their careers right now, man. And if he can go up there and do what he's been doing to those two guys, I don't think it'll be even a question. He'll for sure pass Chavez Sr., but he's going to start
All
getting up into
time. I'm
that.
talking all time.
We're talking all-time great status at that point. And I think if he's reaching for those, I think that's what he'll go do.
And but you know what? That's not crazy though, because Canelo's still young, bro, and he in his prime. Like, what is Canelo? 30, 31? He could do
31.
it. Like man, come on. It's not unreasonable to think that he cannot do that. Can do that. But
You know what? Let me throw one more name. Let me throw one more name in the hat since you said Beterbiev and Bivol or Bivol.
Yeah.
To the champs
you know what you're
out
talking
there.
about.
Sorry.
Boxing is super international, so we're going to struggle with some names.
Yeah.
Spell it.
We apologize, man. We apologize. But to Beterbiev and Bivol, that's a tall order. I'm gonna throw one more name in the mix though at 175, and that's Marcus Brown.
I was hoping you'd say that.
That'd be a fun
Breezy, like I said, there's a reason why we're brothers in boxing. Either one of those three, as it turns out right now, what's on the schedule, Marcus Brown and Beterbiev are scheduled to square off in December, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a great fight, so make sure you mark that on your calendars. If Canelo went up there, he's going to have his hands full with either of those three guys. They are excellent fighters with power, with boxing ability, with a little bit of everything. All three of those guys. Dangerous fighters.
Bad timing as far
dangerous fighters. So that would be a huge statement if Canelo were to go up to 75 in an attempt to do that.
Let me say this, man. I said this earlier. I said this is how you know that you're on an elite level and you really that dude. Like we did the same thing with Mayweather. You just keep on pulling fighters. You just keep on pulling fighters for him to, you know what I'm saying? Different accomplishments for him to meet. Like now you go up to 75, beat those guys up there. It's always gonna be a new fighter. You know what I mean? Same thing with Mayweather. It's the same thing with me. Yeah. Like, man, go up to 160. You can't go up to 160 and beat Triple G. Like, that's how you know you that dude, man. When we just keep on just tacking on to it, man. Tacking on to it.
I want to see him fight Frank Sanchez.
Right, man.
Canelo or Fury? Who wins?
Yeah, Canelo or Fury. Yeah. Breezy, what say you, sir? What's next for Canelo?
What's next? I want to touch on a point. As far as since Adonis brought up, the question, what can Canelo do to surpass Chavez? I just want to give my opinion on that. To me, he's been like, I don't want to say use the word surpass because that's more of like accomplishments. But as far as being the best Mexican fighter, tactically, I know they're all different weights, but tactically, what they bring to the ring, I don't see how anybody's going to be. Any other Mexican fighter is going to beat Canelo. You know? To me, he's faster than all of them. He might be a harder hitter than all of them. He's got better defense than all of them. I don't see what any of them are going to really do with him. But I mean, as far as going 89-0 before his first loss, that's a crazy accomplishment that probably will never get broken. But. So on paper, that's one thing that's debatable. But as far as picks, like who's more complete, who's better, I don't even think that's debatable.
Canelo hands down, bro.
Yeah, I think that's easy. There's not to me. I mean, I could be wrong, but there's not a lot to think about there. But
but think about this though. Canelo, he kind of got the best of both worlds. Like he got that Mexican heart. You know what I'm saying? That willingness to fight, to bite down like a dog, but then he also has that American slick, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the black style of these fights, he got that too. So it's hard, man. He's not missing a whole lot. He like kind of combined both styles. So it's like, bro, none of them guys is on that level. They couldn't do that, man. And then he got power too. Oh my God. Come on, bro. And the man got power.
Right.
So Breezy, what do you think is next for the champ?
So
Canelo.
For Canelo, I think the biggest fight available for him right now would be Charlo. I think that's people have been talking about Charlo versus Canelo for a long time now,
Yeah.
and it's been through two. This would make three weight classes. He's still undefeated. He's had belts at 54, at 60. He doesn't have obviously he can't get a belt without going through Canelo at 68. But I think that's the fight to make right now. I think it'll do crazy numbers. It'll be competitive. You know, but also I think that's a fight that Canelo wins. So I think that's
That's what I'm about
a
to say.
win-win
Who really
situation for
picking Charlo to
Canelo.
win? Like,
Yeah, I think that's a win-win situation for Canelo. I won't say that's an official pick, but like
right.
just off the top, you know,
You never know. You never know.
anything can
And
happen. And I would
we'll
say,
call it an early assumption
yeah, an early
as
assumption. But
opposed to a
Charlo
pick.
is
Yeah,
dangerous. He's got power. He's got
absolutely.
reach.
Strong. He's
He's
strong.
got all
Man.
the tools to do it. I
Yeah.
don't know if he'll pull it all together at the right time. But
Yeah.
I think that's the fight to make. But if he were to fight Benavidez, I don't think anybody would be disappointed. That's an excellent
Yeah.
fight also.
You know,
And I would like to see him face either of those guys or maybe both of them before going to committing to
elsewhere.
75.
I would like to see, I think, to Adonis's point of what can he do to either meet or surpass the legacy of Chavez Sr. is stay at 168 and go on an undisputed run the way Bernard Hopkins did. Bernard Hopkins was the kingpin of the middleweight division for a long, long, long time. So I think if Canelo were to make 168 his home and just continually clean it out over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, I think that's going to speak volume for him when
So
the history books are written.
you think he should just pay those fees, huh? Hold on to them belts and pay all them fees.
That's what I would like to say. I mean,
You
that's
got
what
it,
I would
bro.
like to.
You got it.
That's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
I think he's earned that right too. To not, he's 5'8".
You don't have to move up.
He doesn't have to go up to 175. I fought at 175. I'm 6'3". You know what I mean? Canelo's 5'8". He's 5'8". So, it's. I'm not going to be that guy that's like, yeah, Canelo needs to go to 175 next, because I'm not going to ask too much out of. You know what I mean? I think that it would be asking too much. I think that if he stayed at 168 and went on a run of being undisputed for a number of years, like BA said, pay those sanctioning fees and.
Hey, I agree with you, bro. I agree with you.
And take care of all your mandatories. It's going to mean a lot, especially for when you talk about Chavez, you talk about a lot of old school boxing fans, and if you want to impress old school boxing fans, you go on that you sustain that undisputed run for a duration of time, and that is going to do it for old school boxing fans.
Like really clean out the
I'm
division.
I'm gonna push back on what Breezy said too. The next fight that I think would be great for Canelo, I would go with Benavidez. Simply because how we know how boxing fans are. If Canelo picked Charlo, who's currently at 160, they're going to say that Canelo's picking on a smaller man, or he's scared of Benavidez, or whatever boxing fans want to say. I think he just goes after Benavidez because Benavidez is fighting this month. So Benavidez is going to fight after Canelo. If he's victorious, you could probably guarantee that he is going to call out Canelo in his post-fight speech. He's fighting Kyron Davis, the man that Anthony Durrell fought to a draw earlier this year with. And so if he goes in there and he finishes Kyron Davis, he's going to try to say that his performance tonight makes him the biggest threat in the division. And Canelo should face him next. And he wouldn't be entirely wrong if he, with that assessment of himself, if that were the case. If he did, get a knockout victory of Kyron Davis or something like that, something dramatically more impressive than, Anthony Durrell's performance against him, he's, I think that would probably be the next biggest fight for Canelo at 168. And if you talk about David Benavidez, Mexican American fighter. He's Mexican American, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know.
I'm mainly asking Adonis,
No, I think he is.
our own.
I know he
sports
resides
giant.
in Arizona.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe
Yes.
you're right.
Yeah. So, Mexican American versus Canelo from Guadalajara, Mexico, on Cinco de Mayo weekend.
It's a huge fight.
They're going to pack. They're going to pack the stadium in Dallas for sure.
Huge fight.
For sure. The Cowboys aren't playing. They got the stadium all to themselves. Huge, huge fight. So I think that would probably, be what's next for Canelo. But we'll have to wait and see. I think that's about it for us tonight. Let's go ahead and wrap the show and get some final remarks. First and foremost, thank you to our panelists, Adonis and BA. Adonis is a young.
Brian Gumbo.
What are you majoring in? You're majoring in broadcasting, correct?
Yeah, broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
Adonis is a young sports broadcaster in the making. BA, personal trainer out of Arizona, huge boxing fan.
Sir.
Always great to talk with him.
Yes,
BA, thank you for coming back. We've been wondering about you ever since you went into bereavement mode. Welcome back. And, Adonis, as always, you know how to pick them. Final remarks, Adonis or BA? I'll let Adonis go first.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm not a betting man, but if you're gonna bet, I got you covered. I think this week just shows the level. We have to appreciate guys like Canelo Alvarez when they're around, because I know when you're on top like this, you get a lot of guys that try to undercut what you've been doing. But at this point, man, I don't even think it's an argument that he's the number one pound for pound fighter in the entire world. And if you're trying to make another case, you can try, but it's going to be hard, man. It's going to be real hard. So, yeah, and I think this performance over Caleb Plant, somebody who is a championship level fighter and who's shown it, just shows what kind of level Canelo Alvarez is on compared to the entire rest of the game. And if you missed it, you're missing out on history.
Yeah.
Well said. Hard-hitting truth from Adonis. BA, final remarks, my friend.
Yeah, man, I'll second that. I mean, just a part of, appreciating fighters, man, while they're around, because when they're gone, they gone, man.
They're gone.
You know what I'm saying? When we want to see them, but they're gone. But appreciating fighters like Caleb Plant. When it comes to me, I thought he wasn't ready. Like I said, most of these guys aren't. Like I would have preferred for him, to get maybe a Benavidez. You know what I mean? Maybe get a Charlo.
I said that on the last recording. Did you hear it?
Man, get some of these guys before you just get to this top level. But we know Canelo is the money man. You got an opportunity to be undisputed. It's like, bro, why not take it? But I just don't think these guys are ready for that top level. You know what I mean? But you got to take chances. You got to take risks, and that's what boxing is about. That's what life is about, really. You got to take risks. But I'm here for it, man. You said I was on bereavement, man. We're gonna be back. We got a lot of good fights coming up. I'll be here. So,
Okay. All right.
Welcome
back. Welcome back.
Yes, sir.
I agree with what you said also. Boxing's all about taking risks, and you got to appreciate that in a fighter. Like BA said, it may not have been a fight that he was all the way ready for, but it was a hell of a fight. And if he didn't take the risk of stepping in there, we would have never got to see that fight.
Yeah.
Last but not least, my brother Breezy. Final remarks, my friend.
You said boxing is all about taking a risk. There couldn't be a more accurate statement, because every time you throw a punch, there's an opening. So if you don't take risk, you have zero success, none.
Right.
So you got to take risks. So, and the more successful you want to be, the bigger risk you got to take. But I just want to give a congratulations to Canelo and Plant for putting on a great performance, building on this post-COVID boxing era. They added a lot of steam. Like we got some momentum that we're going and we're cooking now. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
And I'm just ready for what's next. Like they said, this is history in the making, and not just because it happened, but this is big history, a lot of which will be remembered for decades from now. So you're missing out if you ain't tuning in. As always, my point is tune in and appreciate
Tune
this.
in.
You tune in, you will appreciate it, you know? So
Tune in and stay tuned. At the end of the day, it was a historic night and it was a great fight, so it really, again, as a boxing fan and, former practitioners of the sport like me and Breezy, man, we live for this stuff. And it was a great fight. There are a lot of other great fights on the horizon. Even before we get to Bud Crawford versus Showtime Sean Porter on November 20th.
Ooh.
We got a great middleweight battle going down this weekend. Is Jaime Munguia versus Gabriel Rosado. Takes place on DAZN. So tune in for that one. You won't want to miss it. Man,
Gabe, hop right back in.
said it all. So that's it for this episode. Once again, thank you to Adonis and BA for joining us tonight. My name is HB alongside my brother Breezy. This is the Hard-Hitting Truth. As always, protect yourself at all time and roll with the punches. For any and all inquiries, please, you can email us at THHT.BOXING@gmail.com. Breezy, what happened to peace, my brother?
peace. There it is.
There it is.